is your relationship with time? Are you wired and tired, stressed and overwhelmed, busy and going nowhere? Or just want to scale your business? Welcome to Take Back Time with your host, Penny Zenker. Penny focuses on books, strategies, tools, and tips to help you work smarter and approach your time more strategically. As a result, you can have more energy, focus, and get more done in less time. Be more efficient and effective. Get ready to take back time.
Hello, and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker, and I'm your host. And I am excited to share with you great tips and tricks and people who got it figured out, or at least went through it the hard way and figured it out for you to get these tips to help you to work smarter and not harder. That's really our main ambition here in this show, Take Back Time. And today I have Jonathan Green, and he is an entrepreneur who left his teaching career behind, and he had to learn how to manage his time without a manager. So if you're an entrepreneur, you get how difficult and challenging that can be without having someone tell you what to do and when to do it. And he went from living in his mother's basement to working from a tropical island. Now, I think that's a time management challenge too, because I'd much rather be sitting on the beach drinking from a pineapple than on my computer. So, Jonathan, without further ado, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Penny. I'm excited to be here. And obviously, I love talking about time management and building a business. So I'm really excited for today's conversation. Awesome.
Well, I want to know how you ended up on a tropical island. What's up with that?
You know, when I started working for myself, which was a big challenge, everyone always says, I want to work for myself. I want to work from a beach. And then all of my friends who are in the same business, they started hiring teams and renting office space and buying new suits. And I said, wait,
nobody's on the beach, are they? Nobody.
Yeah. And when I said, guys, I'm moving to the beach, they all said, what are you, crazy? You're going to kill your business. And I said, wait, I thought that was our deal. I thought that was our plan. And so a lot of my friends now, they have big teams and they're making a lot of money, but they're still putting in big hours. It's not what I wanted. So part of it is I was traveling the world full time, which I was able to do because of my business. And then I met my wife and I said, if I'm going to live in this country, we got to live in the best possible place. We tried all these different beaches. We've tried all over. And then now we live in a really amazing surf spot. We live about 87 meters from our front door to the water line. So it's very close. And we swim in the ocean, not every day, but almost every day.
That's awesome. So is that what, was that the inspiration for you was to live that beach lifestyle? To go out on your own?
Absolutely. The whole reason to work for yourself is to live wherever you want. And I know some people, that's not their dream. Some people want to live in the mountains or some people want to live by the beach. For me, I was like, I want to live where I want. Like from what I really believe in my philosophy at Serve Master is you should be able to make your own decision. And that's what it really comes down to. And so for me, I tried a lot of different places. There's other things I'd love to do. Like my family's never seen snow. We'd love to go snowboarding. There's no, we live in the tropics. We live right on the equator. There's no snow here. There's not even any cold rain. So you have a trade-off. Exactly. I said, I spent one Christmas in Ukraine and I said, no, the ground was like 4 inches of ice. So the bottom of your feet were always cold. I said, I'm done. I said, from here straight, and I moved from there straight to the tropics. I said, that's enough. I tried the Russian winter. Now I get it. I don't like it. And so I moved somewhere that was really my dream location. Like sometimes my wife or my kids are like, let's go on vacation. I'm like, no, we live at vacation. We're already there. Like we live on Vacation Island and it's all part of knowing what you want. And then you build a life around getting there. Like it took us from wanting to move to this island. It took us 2 years of planning to get here.
2 years of planning. So planning is an important part of designing the kind of business that you want, right? If it's a lifestyle type of business that gives you the lifestyle you want, you have to plan it. And even you said various people that they're growing their businesses. I mean, you have to plan what you want. Otherwise, I found this with my business. Otherwise, it runs you and you're not in control. And the whole point of having your own business is to be in control.
Yeah, it's so easy to paint yourself into a corner. First came here for a visit 6 or 7 years ago. We came for a month, a little vacation. We were living just a little further up north. And the internet would go out for 3 or 4 days at a time. The power would go out for 4 or 5 days at a time. And so I needed to rebuild a business around a different schedule around what happens if the internet goes out. So I did a lot of changes. That's why I have a lot of books on Amazon. That's why I moved into that. So even if I can't get online, at least my books are still running. Now, of course, things are a lot better. We have some more infrastructure. I'm able to do a live call like this one. This would have been impossible when I first moved here. Wouldn't even have considered it. And a lot of times, if I have to do a whole bunch of live events, I'll leave the island. And that's part of the trade-off is going, okay, if I want to do webinars or phone calls and they need to record, then sometimes I have to leave. Now it's getting better and better. Of course, it's also the middle of the night, so no one else is awake using the internet. So that's why I do these calls instead of outside. Instead of you see me out on the beach, I'm in the house right now because it's pitch black outside. You wouldn't see anything except for mosquitoes just attacking me in a rage from the laptop lights.
Right. Totally. Well, before we jumped on and officially started the call, the podcast here, you talked about time management being one of your biggest challenges. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I am terrible at analytics. I'm terrible at spreadsheet. I'm terrible at organization. And for a long time, I've been really disorganized. I get more and more organized as I continue to grow. This year is the year where I'm totally focused on organization, and it's why my business has grown a lot. Since I said, I'm going to learn how to use project management software, I'm going to learn how to have a schedule. So I remember the first time I hired an accountant, she said, how much money do you make? And I go, I don't know. And she goes, what do you do when you run out? And I said, well, I just make more. And she was like, that's the opposite of what I believe in. And I said, yeah, well, and that's because that's what I do, right? We have a slow month. We work twice as hard. And when I have a good month, I slow down. And learning to not do that was a big lesson for me. My first year in business, I had a month that was good. The first day of the month, I got a payment. That was my goal for the month. I took 3.5 weeks off after that, which is not what you're supposed to do. So learning to change how you do things, learning to build operations. So for me, I finally started using project management software this year. I probably tried 10 times in my business. And this is the first year I said, no, I've got to do it. And I just spent weeks learning checklists. I kept trying to hire people that were project management experts, and it never worked for me. So I finally, at a certain point, you go, I got to do it myself. And so I have a better structure. So I kind of know what I'm going to work on each day now. I know what's the most important things. I have a really good team around me that we have a good communication structure. They use the project management software probably 90% more than me. I set it up once. I put in all the checklists and the structure, and then it's better and better organized. But putting it in place took me a long time. And it's really, you kind of think it's not a big deal if things are kind of working at your business. But when you start to realize how you spend time. I was working on a project with someone last year, and he's like, most people get up, they work, they have a big plan for the day, but they start opening emails and going through all that stuff. Right. And then it's lunchtime and they go, I didn't do anything yet. They go, I can't tell you what I did today. And I have those moments too. Sometimes I feel not productive. And I have my other issues. I have no choice but to be productive. So I have an eye condition that limits how much time I can spend on the computer. So some days I can only do an hour or 2 hours on the computer. That means there's no room for messing around. You have to get the most important thing done or you get behind. And so I've also learned to be very efficient and to use my time really strategically when I'm on the computer, and how to be faster when I'm not on the computer, because I want to be working as little as possible. I want to be on the beach, or I want to be with my kids. So those things have come in place, and those have been the big waypoints for me.
Yeah, I want to go back and talk about a couple things that you said. So what I heard you say was the introduction and really consistency in using the project management software. And I guess what that is planning ahead of time and knowing what you're going to do each day, right? Has helped you really to get more consistency and stability in your business. Is that what I understood? So, you'll
absolutely.
So I really want to highlight that point for the people who are listening, because it's these points of systems and organizations that people resist, right? They think, I got in my own business to be more flexible. And I think that by having systems like project management systems and other types of support structures, they give you more flexibility rather than take them away. How would you describe that to someone who, because everybody thinks, you're such a system person, which is not true. I do it too because I'm all over the place and I have to do it. Otherwise, I'd be all over the place. So how would you encourage people to embrace it rather than resist it?
So the first thing is the benefits. For me, I now know what's going to happen tomorrow. I used to wake up and go, I wonder what I'm going to email about today, every single day. And I did that for 10 years. And so you're scrambling and you go, I wish I'd emailed about this yesterday. And so a lot of my
stress for you, that scrambling?
It also created a lot of empty days. I'd go, I just won't mail anything today. And so it actually would just lose me money. I would lose me money, or people wouldn't get emails and they forget who you are. And so you leave a lot of money on the table that way. That's one of the things, is that you're not there, or you miss the big opportunities. A lot of the things I promote now, you have to apply 2 or 3 months in advance. And so we at my team now, it's me and I have an amazing project manager, Paris, who's really good at organization and structure. And so she's good at timing and she runs all of our calendars because we're in different markets now. And she knows what we're going to mail about like 3 months in advance. And I have to look, I go, oh, this is what we're going to do tomorrow. So at least now I can look. But I set up the system with her. We discuss whenever I hear about a new possibility, I go, should we do this one or that one? Here's what I think. We plan it out. I'm still not where I want to be, but I'm getting better and better. I'm still planning when we're going, okay, we need to tighten up the promotion. We plan it a few days in advance. It's no longer the day of. So that's gotten way better for me. A big part of it is the preparation. The other benefit is that you do what you should be doing instead of what you feel like you should be doing in the moment. So if you wait till the last minute, you're always chasing your tail. You're doing whatever seems like it's really important right now.
Right.
And often one of the things I've learned as well is the types of things I can promote, the types of products I can participate in are a lot bigger than I used to believe. I wasn't thinking big enough. And we tested some ideas that Paris had this year and they made a really big difference. She said, let's try these bigger things. I said, I don't know, but we tried it and they worked really well for us. So we're learning that when you plan in advance, you can do bigger things, you can promote bigger products, you can be part of bigger conversations and allows the business to really grow. So a lot of our revenue has changed. A lot of the amount of followers I have has grown significantly. Since getting really focused on structure and these systems, my audience has grown about 7x in the last year. So
wow, that's impressive, right? Just from planning.
It's made a huge difference because so often we didn't have things planned out. And I have things like in my Trello board, it'll say, all right, 2 weeks before this happens, we need to do this. So even if it's a recurring event, we have the before launch sequence. Right. And that means that we can just replicate. And that's the only way to do it. At least of all the ways I've tried, it's the only thing that's ever worked for me.
Absolutely. Just coming back to the point, as you said, to work on those things that you should be doing, that you purposefully are doing because it allows you to go after those bigger things, that if you're reactive, you're going to miss those opportunities. It's being purposeful, right? And taking those actions purposefully.
It's easy when you first wake up in the morning, you go, here's what I'm going to do today. And then you get that first message and it's always an emergency. So I do some client work, not a lot, but I do a little bit of client work. I work with maybe a couple of clients a year, but it's always an emergency. Like last time I did a big ghostwriting project, I wrote a book for someone. They go, look, you have to get it done. I want to launch it next month. I get it done on time. I delayed another project. You didn't even read it for a year. And that's the hard lesson, is that people don't value your time. And this is in every industry. My father was a lawyer and he used to have the same thing. He goes, it's always an emergency until you give it to them and they have to review it. Then it's not anymore. And you have to learn that it's okay. Like I used to be obsessive about email and I used to get those phantom buzzes from your phone.
Oh yeah.
When you think it's ringing. Now I don't know where I have to look around because I don't know where my phone is almost all the time. My phone is set to give me no alerts. So unless I'm looking at the screen, I won't know if it's ringing. It doesn't make a noise. Nothing flashes. I have every alert turned off because what's the point? And also most
I do the same thing. If you want to be focused on one thing, you have to turn off the other things, right? So I'm the same. And I don't understand why people still have them on. I get it if they need to have like an emergency setting so that certain things come through. But, if you're blocking out an hour.
Distractions are the enemy of productivity. Go to distractionquiz.com and find out your distraction profile. Are you a time zombie or a hamster? Take this free distraction quiz today to rate your ability to focus on what keeps you from being a wizard. Go to distractionquiz.com.
I don't think anything can't wait until the end of that hour. I don't know.
We all think that we're surgeons. Yeah. So, I remember when I had my first pager. I remember when I had my first cell phone, we think, oh, now people can reach me in it, but it's never important. It's never
about feeling significant. I think it makes people feel significant. And so we do it for emotional reasons because it's like that whole back in the day when it was the you got mail, right? From AOL or whatever. It made you feel significant. And I think that's just multiplied, that the more likes you get and the more notifications and replies, is that there's a significance factor that says I'm important, and we don't need that to feel important. We need to get the things done that and reach our goals and be consistent in that way. That's going to make us feel much better at the end of the day than a shallow like.
Yeah, I think it's really important as you're setting up this strategy and planning your time management or your business planning is to know what your goals actually are. I had a recent conversation with someone who was bragging about how they have a reach of 4 million. I go, I don't even know what reach means. I measure my business with one metric, and that starts with a dollar sign. To me, nothing else matters because it's the only score. But we've created all these sub metrics that make us feel good. Like whether
I
it's ranking.
disagree with that a little bit.
Okay, fire away.
I disagree with that a little bit. So let's converse about that. I think that's it's good to have some discussion, because I think when we look at the sales that come in, that's a lag indicator. It means it's already passed. We can't influence the number that we made up until this point. So I do believe that some numbers are important because they could be lead indicators that help us to identify that if I tweak this, then that's going to create more income. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, there's certainly things like list size, open rates, how many people are reading my blog posts. All of those things lead towards that final score. They're like part of it.
True.
And I feel like we've created a whole bunch of extra ones, like reach is how many people could see what I had to say. I'm like, wait, I understand measuring your follower count. I get that, because then that tells you what the odds are. But we've started creating these extra metrics that are like potential, or what's your social popularity score, your clout score, which is like all these, we keep adding extra things. And I'm sure if you have an Instagram-based business, then yeah, it makes sense to know your followers and your open rates and your comment rates. Those all matter towards it. But we've started adding in extra ones, which we don't need. It's like, oh, how many likes did I get? And it doesn't lead to anything else. It's just a feel good. Oh, people like me. Or it's like, remember Facebook called everyone your friend? It's like, so it was like, I have 5,000 friends. I'm like, do you?
Yeah.
And it feels good to call it that, but it's not really what it is. So it's easy to get distracted by these things because they feel good and they sound nice, but you have to look at, what is my ultimate goal? My ultimate goal is, I want my kids to eat every day. I got to pay for the house every month. Those things are the most important. So those are what I rate the most. I do look at other metrics. I don't even look at my list size very often, except for people ask me, but I really look at is how many people open each email I send. That's the only thing that matters. How many people open today's email? How many people click today's link? That lets me know, are people connecting with my messaging? Am I talking about the right topic? Is my audience still interested in me? I don't even look at, I used to be obsessed with drop-off rates and unsubscribes, how many people are no longer interested in me. And I'd be like, oh, I don't want to send an email because I don't want 10 people to unsubscribe. I'd rather have no one read my message than have 10 people leave the list. And that became a paranoia, but it's not a critique of you. You have to start separating the business from how you feel. It's not a critique of me. There's plenty of people that just get tired of my messaging, or it's not the right messaging, or they're looking for someone else, or they just wanted something free and they never want to hear from me again.
Right.
All of that's fine.
So, and you can also celebrate, right? Because that's not your target market. If they're dropping off, then they're not people who are going to buy from you. So let's get them off the list, right? And keep people on the list that are going to engage and buy from you. So I see that as good, that you're tightening. Like you said, it really doesn't matter the potential reach. It matters the people who are actually taking action.
Exactly. It's not about how many people you sent an email to, it's how many people actually opened it and read it.
Right.
And that's why, I've been more proactive about pruning my list now. I prune it every month. Anyone who hasn't opened an email in 30 days, they go, oh, they probably don't want to be here. So now I actively prune as well, because I know that I get higher open rates, I get higher engagement when I just email people that actually want to hear from me.
Yeah. But
again, it just goes back to when you're planning, you have to know what metrics you want to measure. So that way, when you start your day, you don't get distracted. Because just recently, my wife and I started working with a personal trainer. And when we go to the gym, he's like, oh, I've got this really cool app and you can track all of your exercises. I have to bring my phone with me, which makes my eyes hurt. And I'm getting constant alerts, emergency, emergency, emergency. And I was like, dude, this is not working. I got to go low tech. So now he sends me a worksheet, I print it out, I bring it with me.
Right.
And that means no one can distract me while I'm there. I just don't need constant alerts. I used to think it meant I was really important because I have a lot of email addresses. I get a lot of emails. Now I spend a lot of my time programming the rules in my mail software to say this goes into this folder, this goes into that folder. And I have a folder that's just called fluff. It's not spam,
right?
But I'll look at it like once a week if I'm in the mood. And I have this other app that takes all of these messages and turns it into one email a day that comes in the morning. So I just scroll through it, say, do I want to read any of these emails? And just,
what's that app called? That sounds interesting.
Oh, it's called Unroll Me, I think.
Okay.
Unroll.me. And what it does is it goes, hey, this is a newsletter. And so I used to get to my private, I only use my private email. I used to get 50 or 100 emails a day. Now I get 20. It really cuts it down. A lot of them, I don't need all the newsletters, just like I subscribe to newsletters. I don't read them every day. I don't need them all coming in. And it forces me to look at one time. The other thing is it doesn't let me look throughout the day. I get the email once. I can scroll through it, probably click on one of the emails. Maybe once or twice a week, I ever read one of the emails in it. So it lets you realize these things aren't that important. we get caught up in thinking, oh, I really need to know, like, oh, I have to know all the news, or I have to know all this information to make decisions. We get caught up because there's too much information. It's so easy to get caught in information overload. And if I go off track, then the rest of my team, if I'm not organized now, my team doesn't know what to do. And that can lead to problems. They start working on the wrong project, or they start going down a rabbit hole. They start fixing something that's not broken. I have to be on top. When you're the leader, you have to pay attention to these other things. So any mistake I make as far as organization now gets magnified. That's the benefit and the negative of having a team. My team grew too fast this year and had a lot of people that were basically going in the wrong direction continually. So we shrank down and still have 5 people with me full time, which is a lot to manage until you have really good project management software that tells them what to do. As soon as they finish the task, they go, here's what's next.
Right.
And now I'm able to get a lot more done with a lot less communication. That's the other beauty of having project management software, is that I only have to explain how to do something once, then it gets put into the system. Then the next person can do it just by going through those checklists. So it all connects once we start to realize the value of efficiency, because I've certainly sat down and I've worked for 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours ago. I don't think I did anything. All I did was answer emails, and then I watched a couple of YouTube videos, and we start to mix business and pleasure because email doesn't separate business and pleasure very much. So I get all of my emails in one big app because I have all the different projects. And so I have all the emails there, personal emails, an email from my wife might be right next to an email from a customer. So we start to mingle those mindsets, and it's really important to separate business time from personal time. Like, I don't play video games on my computer. I don't watch like YouTube videos for entertainment on my computer. My computer's for work. So that way, if I'm on the computer, I know it's work time. And that really is an important delineation, because if we mix our work tool with our entertainment tool, then we don't know what we're doing. Like, if I'm sitting at this desk, I'm working. I would never sit here and do fun. Like, I don't go on Facebook like I did 10 or 20 years ago. I don't go on Facebook at all. For me, it's not a toy. I only do it for work, but I'm out there like reading old people's posts and liking someone's comment or saying, oh, sorry about your breakup. Right. I'm really focused on business. So I'm either on the computer working or I'm with my family.
I really like that distinction, that you have certain tools that are for business and others that are for private. And when you separate them, you really can be present to one versus the other. You know, there are some people I know that carry around 2 phones. They have a work phone and they have a home phone. And I've heard people say, oh, that's so stupid. Just use one phone. You don't need 2 phones. But actually, I could see the intelligence behind it, because work stays with work. And when you put it down and you're not looking at your work phone, then you're done with work and you can put that down, and then you can have access to your other phone. And so, like you said, don't play games on the same machine, because it leaves you that opening to procrastinate while you're on that machine to go to that thing that you do also to pass the time. So I think that's a really smart mindset capacity, right? Because we have to have these little hacks and tricks for our brain, because we're just so easily distracted. And so whatever we can do to stay on target is absolutely key.
Yeah. Big part of what I do as well is I do things in specific orders. So like if I'm working, then I sit down and I follow my start work ritual. I get in position, I do these things, whether I'm working on the phone, whether I'm working on the beach, whether I'm working at another location, or whether I'm working here. I follow those steps in a very specific order. And then if I'm not working, I don't do it in here. Like, I don't do entertainment stuff at this desk. I'm almost 40, but I have a PlayStation. And that's because if I want to play a video game with the kids or something, it's in the other room on a different TV. Right. There's no possibility, because you can't do work on a PlayStation. There's no possibility of that being a work machine. And that's why, even though there are some, I love playing games. I used to play loads of games on the computer. Now, no way. It's totally separate. And you have extra devices as the way to do it. Like, I don't get on my phone, I only get personal emails. And I have another device that I use that's an e-reader that I get my business emails on, and I can check the help desk, and I use that. So I really separate how I use things, because I know that for me, I need those limitations. So when I put structures in place that are built around my personality, and other people are different. Maybe there are some people that can play games on the computer and work on it. That hasn't worked for me. And for most people, it doesn't work. So you just have to find.
Yeah, I want to build off of that whole idea, because I think it might work a little bit, for some people, but if they would recognize what difference it would make if they stopped, that's part of, like you said, you recognize the difference when you really consistently implemented the project management system, is that we need to see what the difference is. And in another context, I hear people talking about like TV in the bedroom or having the iPad and the computer in the bedroom. I think we do have different rooms for different purposes, and it should stay like that. I have no TV in my bedroom. I do not use my computer or ever do anything in the bedroom other than sleep, maybe some other things that we don't need to talk about, and keeping that room so that those are the things that you want to do in that room, that you want it to be that space of relaxation. And so it makes total sense that you've got that office space. And I know for myself, like I put in doors. I didn't have doors in my office. So I put in doors to make sure that I had also a place that I could close and walk out of and then not come back in, and creating that transition time when I leave the office. And those things are hard. And it makes it a lot easier. It doesn't make it easy, but it makes it easier when we create those limits and those boundaries for ourselves. So I think you're spot on. And obviously it's working for you.
Yeah, as I have more kids and we're working on the next one, there's less and less time that I can spend wasted. We have to be efficient with the kids. We have to be efficient with meetings. We have to be efficient with work. It all just becomes, at first it feels like you're creating a prison. Oh, I have to do this at this time and this at that time. And I don't really have a schedule like that. Like I can work whatever hours I want. But when I start working, I have that structure. I only check email once a day. That was a big change for me. And I tell people all the time in all of my books, at some point I go, oh, you can email me, but give me 1 or 2 days to reply. Give me at least 24 hours because I'm not going to check the email in real time. Now, some people, they email me right when I'm checking it and they can't believe I replied instantly. I'm like, no, you got lucky. This isn't going to happen again. But that setting expectations removes that pressure. A lot of it is if we make everyone think we're always available. This is my biggest mistake. When I first started in business, I was doing all client services, doing like local services for small businesses. And I said, guys, I'm available 24/7. Call me anytime. And then they do. And you go, what was I thinking? I said, guys, that was an empty promise.
Right.
Don't call me at 4 a.m. to ask about one of your search engine rankings or your YouTube video.
Right.
But we were so keen to get those clients and to grow our business that we make these big promises. And that we have to learn sometimes the hard way is that you have to have a separation. Like it's tempting to work all the time. And if you don't have any non-work time, your efficiency really drops. I used to write all my books by hand back when I was able to. And at a certain point in the day, I would just start misspelling every word. My fingers wouldn't do what my brain wanted it to do. And I'm like, no, I just want to write another 1,000 words. My fingers are like, well, they're all going to be misspelled. So you have to admit your limitations, and everyone's limitations are different. You have to build in a structure of relaxation time and hard work time.
Right.
Now, when I dictate my books, it's the same thing. I do an hour session because if I do longer, I start to get sick or I get a sore throat. My focus drifts and suddenly I'm talking about totally the wrong topic and it becomes useless content. My editors has to delete like an hour of my work. So you have to know your limitations and build in structures for when it's time to relax, when it's time for entertainment, when it's time to stop working for the day because your efficiency is dropping off. It's really hard now to have a day off, but I have to give myself time off on the week because I would rather just work every day because I like what I do. But then you end up like what you don't want to be. You don't want to be someone who misses life because you're working all the time.
Well, the best ideas come from typically when you're not at work, right?
Yeah, I do a lot of my thinking when I'm with the kids or when I'm surfing or when we're paddleboarding or when I'm just walking on the beach or swimming. And that time is important as well because you have to have that mix of like your spirit, your mind, your body, and your work. And so it's tempting for me to work all the time and let my health drip. But now that I've been exercising a lot more and working with this trainer, exercising my wife and being really focused on this process, I'm able to do better work because my body's operating at a higher level of efficiency. We forget everything's all connected sometimes because we get distracted by projects or life happens and it's easy to go off track. So that's why having a plan and planning more and more in advance. I have a lot of friends who right now they're planning everything they're going to do next year. And I'm like, whoa, you plan the whole year in advance? And it's getting closer. That's more and more of where we want to move to because the further in advance you plan, easier it is to put everything into place. And part of it is when you know what you're going to do, when you have room for a new project. Sometimes we take on projects that we shouldn't or with clients that we shouldn't or pursue an idea. And one of the other things that I do is I do a lot of 80-20 reviews. I had a conversation with a friend of mine a couple of days ago. He publishes books in the horror space. He has 150 books. I said, well, I'll never read any of them. Those are too scary for me. And I said, well, where does all of your revenue come from? New books or books that you published a long time ago? He goes, all back catalog. I'm like, well, why are you still focusing on new books then?
Right.
He's like 95% back catalog. I'm like, well, then maybe and the same thing in my business. A lot of what I thought was the most important thing, it's not. And I have to constantly reassess. It's almost for me, my favorite thing to do is to write books. And it's almost a rounding error every new book I put out. That's how little difference it makes on the bottom line. It's the least financially viable thing that I can do. And so I've stopped working on any new books for that reason. I love doing it. My audience loves it, but guess what? It doesn't generate revenue.
Right.
It's unfortunately, and that's just the way to look at it. Unfortunately, some of the things we love to do or the things we're the best at aren't always the best way to spend our time. So in advance, it can be hard to predict the best ways to use your time. But if you reassess and go, okay, what did I do this week that got me the closest to whatever my metric is? Whether it helped me lose the most weight or help me make the most money or help me make the most friendships or, what was the best use of my time? Looking at that will help you to plan your next week. And I do that all the time. I've been doing some 80-20 stuff today, looking at, well, what's the most efficient use of my time? And I look at things like which of my products are the most popular. And unfortunately, the products I like the most usually are the least popular.
Absolutely. I mean, I work with that 80-20 all the time. I had an aha moment about 15 years ago that helped me really to always consistently and constantly step back and really reevaluate what is that 20% that's most important that gets 80% of the results. So I know we could go on and continue talking because we've got so much in common, so much to share. But I want to let people know, where can they get a hold of you so that they can find out more information, to get some of these great books that you've written, and just to hear more about you.
Yeah. So a big part of my growth, and we didn't talk about it as much as I thought we would, but is about working with other people and how to lead my team and how to find partnerships and alliances. It's kind of like how we connected with each other. It's all strategic. It was all on a spreadsheet.
Absolutely.
In the project management software. So if you go to my website, servermaster.com/black belt, I have a free training all about how to get your black belt in networking, which is really about how to find people you want to work with, how to figure out where to meet them, how to have that conversation, and how to go into business relationships with them. And it's how I've continually grown my business, is surrounding myself with people that are doing better than me and asking them questions and getting them to share projects with me. And those things can make a really big difference. So a lot of our growth is about connecting with other people. When I started working online, I said, I never have to talk to another person again. Great. And it turns out it's the opposite. The more time I spend with other people, that's how my business grows. It's really about relationships. And it's the thing we discount the most. Most
the
of
right
us, when we become adults,
too, right? I mean, you talked about it with your list before, that it's having the right people on your list, the people who are attracted and connected to you, to getting those right partnerships that are the best synergy and that are going to help you to move forward. If you were to say out of the 100 people, right, there's going to be those few people that are going to be the best partners that are going to move you forward. It's really identifying who those are.
Absolutely. A lot of what we do when we're first starting out in any new ventures, we just partner with whoever's near around us. And sometimes you end up, like I remember when I went to my first conference, one of the people I knew already, he basically met 10 other beginners and began hanging out with them all the time. And I said, well, what do you talk about? They don't know, and no one has hit the next level. But if you surround yourself with people that are a level above or who are in the same industry, or there's a reason for that connection, then you know what you want from that relationship. And so does the other person. Sometimes It's a mentor-mentee relationship. Sometimes it's partnership. Sometimes it's like a mastermind. But if you are just connecting with people randomly, then you can surround yourself with people that aren't good for you, whether it's a friend who really isn't a friend, or a relationship that's actually toxic or kind of sucking energy out of you. I look at all my friendships and I go, how do I feel after I hung out with that person? If I feel bad, I feel like worse about myself, then I don't want to hang out with them anymore. But I used to have a lot of friends like that when I was younger. I really struggled with friendships when I was young, and it took me a long time to analyze it and look at it strategically and say, I want to be around people that make me feel good, that encourage my business, that understand what I want from life, that are on the same path as me. And once you start to form those alliances, everything becomes a lot easier. It's a lot easier to be surrounded with 10 other people that are on the same path as you than with 10 people that are trying to stop you because they feel like you're betraying them because you're changing.
Right, for sure. I mean, it comes down to networking, or any part of where you spend your time and energy, of being purposeful versus being reactive, right? It's the same type of thing, is really going after those purposeful relationship and knowing, like you said, what you're looking for out of that relationship. So smart networking, right? So before we shut down for today, so what do you look for? I know you've got a whole course and we're sending people there with the show notes, but what's the one thing you'd say that you learned the most, or that's the biggest thing that you look for when you look for a partnership?
Sure. I look for people that are on the same path as me, that are more either as successful or more successful than me. So there's something I can learn from them. I usually like to be around people that are doing something different than what I'm doing. So I don't hang out with other authors. I don't hang out with a lot of people in the authorship niche. And I look for people that are really focused on the same metrics as me. I find that in the authorship niche, a lot of people are really focused on high school type stuff. There's a lot of like gossip and infighting and stuff. And I always find out about it last. I didn't even know that existed until one of my friends was like, oh, my reputation's in trouble. I was like, with who? He's like, other authors. I was like, I don't even live in that world. I just can't imagine having to worry about what someone who I've never met in person thinks about me because of, I got in trouble for a podcast interview I did last year. Someone's like, I can't believe you let that lady interview you. I was like, why? She seemed nice enough. And he was like, I don't like her approach to romance novels. I was like, I don't even know what that means. I don't read romance novels, so I don't know what to tell you. And he was like all against ghostwriting. I was like, that's how I feed my family. I ghostwrite, and I did it for a long time to grow my business. So people that get caught up in those things, I'm not interested in that. I'm really interested in people that are passionate about what they do, have a confidence. A lot of people I meet, I'm like, well, what do you do? And they don't want to tell me. And I go, okay, bye. If you're not confident about your job, or you're not confident about what you're good at, and everyone's good at something. Everyone has something to bring to the table. I want to hear about that. If you used to be a professional athlete, well, don't bury the lead. That's your best thing. Let me know. It's not bragging to let people know you're good at stuff. So I look at that, and then I look at, do I want to be around this person? Sometimes there are people that could be really good for your business, but they're horrible people, or they've done things in business that are extremely unethical. Someone approached me about a business project, and they'd been fined by the FTC for many millions of dollars for ripping off many thousands of people. Someone wanted me to ghostwrite their book. Who had a partner. Yeah, someone approached me and goes, oh, I found someone who'd be great for your next ghostwriting project. And the guy had ripped off children with cancer with a fake scam. I said, are you kidding me? That's but not who I want to
research. What I hear you saying is know what you want out of the partnership, research the people who, lots of information out there to really check to see if it's somebody of integrity, because, nobody wants to get involved with drama and
you'll find in
the lack of integrity.
A lot of times you have to learn the lesson the hard way, because you just are so excited that anyone wants to work with you that you don't pay attention to the red flags. And that's happened to me as well a long time ago. Right. But it's just part of the growth cycle, is figuring out who do you want to work with? What are you looking for in a partner? What are you looking for in relationships? It takes time to figure that out. And that will change as you grow and as your business grows. But I just look for people that I would want to hang out with. I would want to have dinner with. I would want to meet my family. And that screens out a lot of the people out there. There are plenty of people that I would never let meet my family, even though they might be great for my business. And that helps you start to sort it out, because you only have so much time. It's better to invest in relationships that are really worth it. And of course, relationships have up and downs. Friendships go in and out of style. And sometimes you have a disagreement with someone, but those things are all just part of life. The really important thing is to realize that most of the success, whether it's in business or life or health, it comes from our relationships. It comes from being around other people. We're social creatures. It's tempting to think I'm going to go it alone, or I don't need anyone's help. But you grow so much faster. Most of my growth in my business is about finding other authors that doing cool things and promoting their book or going on their podcast or supporting them in different ways. And those grow my business more than anything else. It's really relationships. So my business is absolutely built on a foundation of relationships. That's why it's so important to me. That's why it's my most important course. That's why it's what I believe in. And just like building it, whether you're building a team, it all comes down to finding the right people and then using your time efficiently with those people.
Absolutely. Well, you just summed up the whole show. It's doing planning and using your time wisely and picking and choosing your partners wisely. So thank you so much, Jonathan, for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah. And thank you all for being here. And, there were a couple of really important nuggets that I hope you wrote down, and you go check out Jonathan's course that he's got offered so that you can see how it is that he suggests that you take a look at networking and how to make networking be a productivity tool for you. So I appreciate you all. And as you know, our goal here is to help you to take back time, to work smarter, not harder, and to be more strategic in the way that you think and act. My name's Penny Zenker, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening. Today's topic is another opportunity for you to put the knowledge you learned into practice. Tune in again next week for more strategies that will help you have more energy and focus to get more done in less time, so you can continue to take back time.